thanks for joining us for another Saturday Wars CCG playthrough video. Because we just launched the game on Tabletop Simulator, we decided to put out a quick deck tech video covering two of the pre-built deck options. First is the massively multiplayer world of Ghost Invasion deck versus the Steele Purge deck. Both of these decks are powerful in their own right, but for today we are going to focus on the Invasion deck and the different ways to use challenges to defeat your opponent's protagonists. The massively multiplayer world of Ghosts is an interdimensional battle game where players team up with ghosts to move up the rankings. Artwork by Oscar Fong. The Invasion deck hinges on one important story arc card. Time to Train. This card allows you to first deploy an ally for free, and then second to keep all your allies in play at the end of the chapter. This builds up your team and starts you with a really high progress value for most of the game. For protagonists, you start Dia Rao, who will serve as your primary retrieval engine, and Nile Neil, which also lets you start with an ultimate deck right out of the gate, and in turn add an extra character card to your hand. This gives you a head start versus your opponent. There are two main win conditions for this deck. The first is to build up your ally pool and hope that your opponent can't keep up to your ever-growing progress value. The second option is to use the 3 challenge cards in clever ways to go after your opponent's protagonists quickly before they have time to respond. The Steele Purge deck starts with Steele and Ravi. These two give you a base progress value of 5. With the Steele deck, you are looking to get out your high-value villains as quickly as possible using cards like Maybe We Should Just Wait to reduce the Purge cost. You also have some strong Purge ability cards that give you bonus should they come up while you are paying to play your strongest cards. Let's jump right into the playthrough video. As you can see, we have already set up the game with protagonists out, and the MMWOG player is going first, having bid 3 to be starting player. The first card we want to play is Time to Train. If you don't get this card in your starting hand, it is a good idea to mulligan and try to get it on the second draw. Without this card, you can still play the deck, but it might take a chapter or two before you really get going. Using Dia's ability, we add a marker to her, and already you are set up for your first retrieval. We won't cash that in yet because we want to resolve Time to Train's Animate ability first. The Animate ability lets you search your Shonen deck for an ally with a cost less than 3. We will pull Viper Neo here for 2 reasons. First, because he increases the retrieval from Dia, and second, because he is the perfect character to issue challenges with Challenge Bout. As you can see, we have already retrieved the 2 cards for Dia's ability. That is the MMWOG player's first action, and we will now switch over to the Steele player's first action. The Steele player wants to play King Crow, but to reduce the cost, they first use an action to play Maybe We Should Just Wait, and will then play King Crow on their second action. The MMWOG player has all 3 challenge cards in their hand. This gives them a couple of options because it takes 2 successful challenges to remove a character. They will start with Challenge Bout. In a normal challenge, the character with the highest total progress value, including the draw bonus, wins the challenge. However, when Challenge Bout is used, it's the opposite. The one with the lower progress value wins. This allows a character with a low progress value like Viper Neo to take on a stronger character like Steele. The Steele player gets his 3 plus a bonus for Ravi and another bonus for the chapter. This is combined with the draw of 4, bringing the total to 9. The MMWOG player adds a 2 and combines that with Viper Neo's 1 and the bonus from the chapter for a total of 4. Viper Neo wins the challenge bout and Steele becomes exhausted. This is the MMWOG player's second action. Now, because the MMWOG player also has Severance Package, they can interrupt the gameplay to use its quick ability. By playing Severance Package, a second challenge is issued. This time it's Nile who will be challenging Steele. Following up challenges like this is very useful when trying to clear your opponent's characters. There are lots of cards to counter this strategy, whether it's preventing a character from becoming exhausted, redirecting a challenge target, or canceling a challenge altogether. With no counters in play for this example, both players draw for their challenge bonus, with the MWOG player drawing a 2 for a total of 6. The Steele player draws a 0, leaving him at a total strength of 5. It was close, but Nile successfully defeats Steele, and he must now be purged. This leaves just one more protagonist left in order to win the game. The Steele player is now in a difficult spot. With only Ravi left as a protagonist, they must do everything they can to protect them while trying to win the chapter. They stick with the original plan of playing King Crow as their second action. Because of maybe we should just wait, instead of paying a purge cost of 4, they only have to pay 1 to play him. Your Fight Is With Me is the perfect draw when paying the purge cost. This card has a purge ability, which adds a bonus of 4 progress markers to the current chapter and gets drawn back into the player's hand. On its own, this card has a high purge cost of 6. So it's always better when this card comes up as part of paying the cost for another card. Maybe we should just wait is now resolved and it goes to the purge pile. This concludes the Steele player's second action. The MWOG player can now continue to build up their allies. Remember that any MWOG allies in play get to stay there until the next chapter, as per the story arc card. Playing Steel Tusk Durga brings the MWOG player's total progress value to 12, to the Steele player's progress value total of 11. After their third action, the MWOG player is definitely ahead. The Steele player doesn't have many options. The best thing to do at this point is to play their story arc, Flashback to the Past. This will allow them to play one of their character cards out of the purge pile during the prologue of the next chapter. While paying the purge cost, another purge ability gets triggered for one last clear opening. This gives the Steele player 3 more cards and suddenly opens up some optionality for them. Drawing Goober, Demon Branding, and another Your Fight Is With Me. As it stands, the current progress is 12 to 11. There isn't any point in issuing another challenge yet, because you would only exhaust Ravi, not defeat him. So it's best to wait until the next chapter to take him on. Instead, the MWOG player just adds a progress marker, bringing the total progress to a tie at 12 each. The Steele player now has a choice to make. They can use Wanted Poster to remove an opponent's ally, or to keep King Crow to the next chapter, but if they do that, they will be sacrificing this chapter and be 1 chapter behind. They could also play Goober to increase the progress value, but that seems like a waste to only have him out at the end. They could also play Demon Branding and double the progress value of King Crow. This would win the chapter for sure. But in the end, you can also win the chapter simply by adding an additional progress marker to break the tie. That's what they decide to do. Now that they've reached the epilogue phase, King Crow's epilogue ability triggers. Because he was not challenged, the Steele player retrieves 5 cards. The Steele player won the chapter, so all the progress markers go back to the bag. Moving on, all allies get purged, so King Crow goes to the purge pile, and then they add a marker to the story arc card. The MWOG player doesn't have any epilogue abilities, and because of Time to Train, Viper Neo and Steel Tusk Durga get to remain in play. A marker does get put on the story arc card. Because the MWOG player did not win the chapter, they get to choose the next chapter card and go first in the next round. They choose Street Fight. It's time to go all out on the challenges. Every time a challenge is issued, that player gets to retrieve a card. At the start of this new chapter, the MWOG player replenishes their hand to 5 cards, and as luck would have it, they draw everything they need to finish off Ravi during their turn. Over on the Steele player's side of the game, Ravi's ability triggers, allowing them to retrieve King Crow back to the Shonen deck. Also, because they left 6 cards in their hand, they must purge one. This was planned because they can purge Your Fight Is With Me, triggering its ability and getting a head start on the progress value for the chapter. Now that we've moved into the action phase, the first card to play is You've Got Guts, Kid. This card doesn't cost anything to play, and so Nile can challenge Ravi. Both players draw their challenge bonus, and Ravi becomes exhausted. Just like in the last chapter, we follow that up with Severance Package. The goal here is to defeat Ravi in a second challenge before your opponent has a chance to respond. This time, Ravi draws a 3, bringing his total to 4. Nile has a total of 5, defeating Ravi and winning the game. We hope the deck tech video was useful in learning some of the key mechanics for the pre-built decks on Tabletop Simulator. There are several other options to choose from. Feel free to experiment and play with your friends while you wait for your order of Volume 1 to arrive. Pledges for Saturday Wars. Volume 1 start on Thursday, the 27th of March. Go to GameFound.com today to follow and participate in the campaign.